Eiyuden Chronicle, the game that sounds like Ryu shouted it into existence. Eiyuden Chronicle Rising is a prologue to next year's Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, which to the young ones out there is going to mean nothing, but older folks like me are excited because Eiyuden Chronicle is the spiritual successor to Konami's Suikoden series, which was very popular during the golden era of PS1 and PS2 JRPGs. Suikoden 2 is especially considered one of the best JRPGs ever, celebrated for its character collection system and a highly engaging plot, so that's why fans are keeping a close eye on Eiyuden Chronicle. I have to shamefully admit that I never completed Suikoden 2, but I did recently set the game up on my Series X via emulation, so I may yet right this wrong before the release of 100 Heroes next year. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is the crowd-funded main release coming in 2023, and it's going to be a turn-based JRPG like Suikoden, but today we're focusing on EC Rising, which is a 2D action JRPG. Is Rising just going to be a quick and cheap stretch goal bonus to build momentum for 100 Heroes, or is it a good game in its own right? Let's find out. Rising starts off deceptively basic. You're given a one-hit attack and a dodgy looking jump animation, and there's even an option in the beginning to simplify the controls that I don't recommend. That's because as the townsfolk send you out to perform tasks to learn the mechanics of the game, your abilities will grow and your tools to deal with enemies get more robust and more entertaining. Combat ramps up in fun factor when you meet your first additional party member, which introduces the switching mechanic. The top 3 face buttons correspond to different party members, and you press their button to perform their attack. A simple way to think of this is light, heavy and ranged attack. Things get interesting when you link attacks by pressing the character buttons one after the other, which slows down time and builds up your devastating combo count. This looks and feels great to pull off, but don't go thinking you can abuse this. There is a short cooldown in this comboing ability, and during that cooldown period you can feel vulnerable against stronger enemies. If you panic, you might end up locked on a party member as you can't switch whilst taking status damage. Further panic during these moments will cause your party to fall, so get good. Additional abilities keep trickling in beyond the halfway point of the game, and these abilities will also help you to navigate previously unreachable areas, giving it a touch of that sweet Metroidvania sauce. So don't be fooled by the early hours of the game, it does improve slowly as it moves along. Outside of combat, you'll be performing quests for the townsfolk, and there are loads of these. I never found the quests to be a chore because I was always intrigued to witness the next upgrade to the town of New Nevea. Your actions will directly affect the services and aesthetics of the town as you provide materials for construction and goods for sale from looting the dungeons. This mechanic seems like a taster for what we'll experience in 100 Heroes next year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they develop it in that game. So just like your combat abilities, the town expands as you play, but you're always given reasons to visit less popular screens via the side quests, so you won't forget they exist. You might think that all the running around town is annoying to speak to this or that person, and maybe it is to some people, but completing side quests get you stamps. I was surprisingly invested in collecting these, and stamps upgrade your party abilities drastically when you fill up a card. It also helps immensely that the NPCs, even minor ones, are well written and have their own unique personalities and stories that sometimes intertwine with each other. Through the translated text, sprite animations and emojis, their personalities will jump out at you even though there's no spoken dialogue in the game. There's bags of charm and humour here that doesn't feel forced. The translation team is incredibly talented, and I hope they're using the exact same team for 100 Heroes. Please let this be so. Pacing is spot on for me, apart from the post-game stuff, but more on that later. You're always in the middle of something and there's hardly any lull in gameplay. You're either being driven along the main quest or keeping busy with side quests. You'll probably find new ones as you're handing in old ones. There is a quick travel system to make all the back and forth manageable, but I think the quick travel system would be a lot better if they had set up the UI to let you know exactly where you were travelling to. At the moment, all you get to see is a list of available locations and dots on the vanity map that's mostly unhelpful. So quick travelling is useful, but very cumbersome as you have to leave the quick travel screen and reference your map to plan your route. These two things need to be combined. It takes just under 20 hours to get to the credits, and you can do it faster if you're not very meticulous. There's an additional 3 to 4 hours of gameplay if you want to get the platinum, which is quite easy to achieve but does involve a fair bit of grinding. My pro tip for you here is to use Hogan's trading shop to see if you can craft your required items before venturing out on an expedition. By the way, don't be afraid to hand your badges to Hogan to exchange for items, because your counter doesn't go down to 0 every time you get a badge reward. Post-game content could have been improved with an option to exit dungeons from any room, or with an improved quick travel that gets you to the exact room you want to be in. Compared to plenty of other games, the final stretch of grinding trophies isn't too bad. All in all, 20 hours of jrpg gameplay with little filler, again except for the post-game stuff, is plenty of playtime, especially for older gamers like myself who have full-time jobs, relationships to manage and an Elden Ring to get back to. This game is a joy to look at. The 2D sprites are colourful and detailed and behave 3-dimensionally, so when your characters face another direction, it isn't just a flat mirror of the other side. The whole world is jam-packed with details and layers, so there's never a shortage of things to look at. The various dungeons do follow the generic fire and ice area framework, but again, there are nice touches throughout to keep them interesting. In general, art direction in this game is great. The one disappointment I had with the visuals in this game come from the gear. The look of your weapons do evolve as you upgrade them, and you can add elemental effects like ice and fire with trinkets, but armor looks the same from beginning to end. At least they don't try to pull the wool over your eyes though. I've played jrpgs where the armor would have its own art in the item description and have zero bearing on how the character looks when equipped. Rising doesn't insult you like that here. Each area of the game has its own banger and can jump to or mix up genres within the same track. It's not easy to get bored of the score because you're always switching up on locations, so you'll be hearing some rock in one place, a bit of honky tonk in another, and then transition to some classical. The sound effects and jingles are functional and pleasant enough and sometimes veer into the retro space. The cacophony of sound effects you get from switch combos, smashing spells and critical attacks on your enemies never gets old. This game came out of nowhere for me. I didn't contribute to the crowdfunding project of 100 Heroes, so wasn't aware of this prologue until days before it was released. It was a nice surprise to look forward to. And when I eventually started playing the game, the surprises just kept coming, and the quality of production and talent involved in this game trumps many games I've seen backed by bigger studios. There's so much effort put into Rising that it can easily stand on its own as a complete game without 100 Heroes. If you have Game Pass, it's a no-brainer. You should give it a go and enjoy it now. Otherwise, if you're willing to wait, there's no doubt that the game will receive a discount sometime before 100 Heroes arrives next year. Eiyuden Chronicle Rising isn't a cheap cash-in at all. It's a fun, action-packed, addictive genre blend that's easy to enjoy and feels substantial enough with 20 hours of gameplay and value. To fans of Suikoden who are planning to get 100 Heroes, I have no doubt that you will find something to enjoy in Rising. And to people curious about Eiyuden Chronicle, this is a good starting point to get you on the hype train. I'm giving Eiyuden Chronicle Rising an 8 out of 10. If you like this review and want to see more like this along with tips, tutorials and other wacky gaming stuff, please click the subscribe button as it's 100% free today, and probably on whatever day you're watching this. See you on the next one.